Hello and welcome to a quick review of the homework for Chapter 7, Economics, KCC, and we are in a production and growth chapter in Gregory Mankiw's Basic Principles of Microeconomics. So, let's go over some of the homework here. First question talks about economic growth around the globe, giving what appears to be 6 different countries, and all you're doing is simply measuring which one has the greatest growth, annual growth rate, and which one actually has the fastest growth rate. You're not doing any math, you're simply looking at the table and the chart and measuring out which one is which. Again, the question might be slightly different for you. In my case, we're looking at as the highest level of real growth per person in 2010. On my chart, that would be, excuse me, Austria, and the fastest growth from 1960 to 2010. In mine, that would be Botswana. So the first question, simply look at the largest real income per person, and the other one is looking at the fastest growth rate. Not doing any math on there. And before another question, again, we're not looking at any math, just asking you the levels of growth between one versus the other. In this case, which real income per person below level of Venezuela grew the fastest, and simply looking over the chart. All right, here, not going to give out all the answers. However, if you're looking in your textbook, I believe I have this listed in 123 to 131 in your text. Understanding the difference, human capital refers to the individuals who are doing the work. Productivity can increase if you are taking classes and things of that nature, or you just become better at your job, so you get to be more efficient in the same hours. Natural resources, that would be land, that would be lumber, that would be crude oil, a river perhaps. Physical capital refers to any machinery to make the final good. If you're a farmer, a tractor is physical capital. Technological knowledge, any advances in tech. We could go back to the same tractor, but once it starts to add a GPS where you could locate where you want the tractor to be at very precisely, that would be the difference. And it's simply asking you to peg what's going on. Smartphone app that helps farmers optimize watering and harvesting. Okay, purely tech. I'm not talking about a person doing anything different. The natural resources on the land, the tractor hasn't changed. The only difference would be technological knowledge. So that's the one you check, and we'd go on from there. Question 3. It's asking, giving you information of the year, physical capital, labor capital, physical capital per labor, labor output, and labor productivity. Here, all we're doing is taking it verbatim what you have given. The ratio of physical capital, the first column, divided by worker or labor capital. And what you're looking down here, physical capital divided by labor in that particular year, and that will get you your number. Let's see if we can make that a little bigger. Okay. Same thing with the second part of the question, asking you for 2033, physical capital divided by labor. That will give you how many per units, and that's giving you some idea of how the physical capital is used and whether or not it's efficient. From one year to the next, apparently, although you have more people, you're getting more output. The second part, output divided by labor. How many widgets can you make in a particular year divided by the number of labor hours? And you see, again, there are more people, but you're being more productive. Calculations based on, again, capital per labor, and the other one is, again, output divided by labor. If you are interested, these are my answers. Your questions may be a little different or it may be in a different order. So just understand the premise and not so much trying to memorize the order that you're given. Productivity is output per labor unit determined by primary factors: land, labor, capital, and knowledge. That's something that we repeat in class constantly. The three primary factors of production are land, labor, and capital. Fourth one is knowledge. So let's move on. Catch-up provision. We're still looking at productivity again, using the same type of calculations. Catch-up provision is simply countries that are not that productive because they don't have those four factors that we discussed in abundance, so they're not very efficient with those four factors. It's easier to catch up when you get those particular factors in a new country or a country that is not being as productive as it could be. If you didn't have a lot of tech before and someone starts to bring that in, or you don't have a lot of factories, you're instantly going to be more productive in a shorter period of time. Whoever invented the idea of mass production, we'll say Henry Ford, the Ford company, difficult to set it up, make mistakes, and then you figure out where all the bugs are at, and now you're more productive. Well, the next country over, we'll say Tasmania. You simply copy the information. They've already gotten rid of all the bugs. Therefore, all you need to do is implement it. So to catch up when you get all the material is rather easy and rather quick compared to the ones who invented the widget. Okay? And then you're simply given choices. Oh, which one? Is it bigger or smaller, and things of that nature. Again, just a quick outline. I don't want to give answers because I want you to actually go ahead and work that out on your own. Three, Farino Motors manufacturing in Italy opens a plant in South Carolina. This is an example of foreign direct or portfolio investment. I believe that is on page, let me double check here, 135. A direct investment is when you actually go and buy out shares of a company. A portfolio investment is when you're actually allocating a factory. So a direct investment would be if you bought shares in a company. The portfolio is when you start to manufacture. So in this example, that would probably be portfolio. And then it's asking you the same questions. Brain drain refers to when your highly skilled labor leaves. For whatever reason, there may be more opportunities in a neighboring country or somewhere else. That is considered a brain drain. Usually it refers to people who have some type of education. That's normally what they're referring to. Doctors, lawyers, and that kind of thing. Okay, hopefully that takes care of it. And I will move on to the second part of the homework for this week. All right, second homework is the quiz. Again, I'm not trying to give answers. I'll help narrow down when I can, but you will have to do a little work on this. Measuring the standard of living, that is more of a definition. And we're not talking pure income all the time, pure nominal. A reasonable measurement It's per person, generally. So I have to get that tea in. A few countries growing very quickly because have they always been wealthy? Maybe snowball effect. Imperialism, collecting, not quite there. They have enormous natural resources. China does not have a lot of natural resources. Brazil does. Japan generally doesn't, so it's probably something else. I know Japan tends to import goods, convert them into something else, and add value. Raw steel is converted into Toyotas. When a nation is very little income per person, well, it must be a small nation. No, not necessarily. It is doomed to be relatively impoverished forever. No. So look at the others. It's somewhere in those other choices, generally not E. Once a country is wealthy, it doesn't mean it's going to stay wealthy. So, nearly impossible for it to become less wealthy? No. Far harder to grow quickly because of diminished returns of capital? Possible answer, you have to look that up. Becomes more productive due to the catch-up effect? Well, if it's wealthy, it may not need that. No longer needs technological advances? That's not the answer. Okay, I'll let you figure it out. Opportunity cost of growth that is more of a definition. I will let you look that one up. It's in the textbook. Remember, there's always an index in the back of the textbook, physical or digital. For a given level of technology, we should expect an increase in labor productivity within a nation when there is an increase in each of the following except. One of these things is not like the other. That's all I'm saying. Which of the following statements is true? Again, going back and understanding, a country may have different levels of income per person, but they all grow at the same rate. I would review the textbook. That is not always true. All countries have the same growth rate. I'm not favoring that one. Countries have a great variety in both level and growth rate per person. Sounds interesting. Countries may have a different growth rate, but they all have the same level of income per person. I'm not that fond of that statement. If production functions exhibit constant returns to scale, I'll let you look that one up. It's only one of these. Doubling outputs, double inputs, doubles outputs. Not necessarily. Crude oil is an example. Okay, by now, hopefully you've read enough to know out of the five, three just don't wash out. It is not physical, it is not tech, and it is not human. So I'll let you figure out between the two that are left. Which of the following statements regarding the impact of population growth on productivity is true? Again, that is in the book. It is a tool, or it is an event, not a tool, that actually increases productivity. More people should be able to get more accomplished. I'll say that and we'll move on. Thomas Malthus, he believed that, as an economist, He was concerned that there wouldn't be enough food to supply the growing population. He did a calculation on what he thought the population would grow out to be, but didn't think we would be able to, as a planet, grow enough food. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and we have been growing a lot of food. If you look in your information on the Moodle site, at least that's what we're using right now, I believe I actually have a video or two related to that. It's a little humorous and a little saucy as far as the background, but it kind of gets into this economist's belief and how it was based on the number he had. It was correct. It was just the fact that productivity really dramatically increased and was able to grow enough food to feed the population. Maggie goes to college and reads many books while at school. Her education increases, which is one of the following factors of production. Okay. It's not all, and it's not a natural resource. I'll let you decide what's left. Which of the following describes an increase in technological knowledge? Okay. Farmer buys another tractor. I'm not favoring that one. Farmer hires another day laborer. I'm not too fond of that one. I'll let you pick out the difference between the other two. Our standard of living is most closely related to, I'll start speaking English, our physical strength. Not fond of that one. Our supply of non-renewable natural resources because they are limited. Interesting. Our supply of capital because everything of value is produced by machinery. That one's a little questionable. I'll let you discuss and answer between the other ones. Which of the following is an example of a foreign portfolio? Again, back in the textbook, a foreign portfolio is when a company in country A gets factors of production in country B. So there's one in there that satisfies that. And it is not D. And it is not E. I will let you figure that out. Which of the following government policies is least likely to increase growth in Africa? Least likely. Which one would be very, very harmful? Increase in expenditures in public education. That would likely, not least likely, increase restrictions on the importing of Japanese automobiles and electronics. Well, this gets into tariffs and other things to protect the natural market or the local market wherever you are at. And that would probably, by economic definitions, increase growth internally when you tend to bar other countries from bringing in goods via a tariff or anything else. In the way this question is worded, that would not be what they're looking for. There's a whole nother debate about tariffs, but we're not going to get into that. So definitely not the first one. Not real fond of the second one, so I will let you look that over. British Petroleum, or BP gas station, builds a new plant in Louisiana. Now we're getting back to direct investment or foreign portfolio investment. By now you should have a good idea of what that is and which one it should be. Real income per person in 2021 is 18,000. Real income per person in 2022 is 18,635. Growth rate over that period it is not a large increase. 18% is close, very close to 20. 20% of 18 will put it at $3,600, and you only see a small growth. So B and C are out. And to actually figure out how that would work, remember our calculations, the difference between the current year and the prior year divided by the current year should get you your fraction. And let's see if we can actually come up with some answer that looks like it's on the chart. Just want to see if we can get that. Okay, there's my guess. Which of the following expenditures to enhance productivity is most likely to emit a positive externality? Externalities are side effects from you doing something. A negative externality would be smoke from a coal burning plant or waste from some type of manufacturing process and you just dump it in the backyard. That would be negative. Positive is you're doing something and some activity actually has good activities for the general public, not only your business. So, Nicole going to college, I'm not sure I would say that is enhanced productivity. Leasing a new oil field, I don't know if that's positive or negative. Sounds more like business. So this one's a little tricky. You may have to look this one up just out of curiosity. Buys a new truck, maybe it is Nicole. I might have to check on that one. We'll do that one. To increase growth, government should do all the following except encourage foreigners to divest in your country. Okay, that's money and stuff coming in. That's good. Naturalize major industries. That's generally not seen as a positive thing by textbooks. Making a public company private. Encourage R&D. Encourage savings and investing. Promote free trade. Well, supposedly free trade is a good thing. So looking a little at D. Looking a little. Oh, I forgot. When I take the test, I don't get the answers the way that you would get them. Let's check that one though. Kind of curious. That is Nicole. Okay. Because she's going to college and she will be better equipped to be productive at work. When I read the word externality, I keep thinking, hey, it's something that's being produced by a business. So, okay. All right, there you go. Hopefully that's helpful. Get your homework done, and I will see you in the next one.